Slicksters are oil biome critters that thrive in high temperature and carbon dioxide rich environments. To tame them, you'll need to construct a stable in a carbon dioxide pocket, supply a grooming station, and ensure duplicants can access them safely despite the heat. They'll consume carbon dioxide and excrete crude oil, effectively turning waste gas into a usable resource. This here is a pretty simple stable design for slicksters. Because their food of choice is carbon dioxide, you'd need huge amounts of it to sustain them. That's why most slickster farms have petroleum generators up at the top, because these generate high amounts of carbon dioxide into the air and output polluted water. With that in mind, there's mesh tiles at all the floors, meaning that all the gas and all the water will go down everywhere in the ranch. Each petroleum generator can provide carbon dioxide for 2 ranches of slicksters. This design that you see here isn't really its full scale. This is what it looks like if you're just starting early with the construction of the ranches. The full scale would look something like this. It's still pretty much the same, just bigger. But let's go back to the smaller design for you to digest the information a lot better. Slicksters have a livable range of 0 to 200 degrees Celsius, so you have to keep the entire area hot. Thankfully, the petroleum generators will do most of that work due to how hot they can get when they're operating. But there's also a problem with that. Although it will take a while, this area will reach temperatures of over 200 degrees if you don't do something to stop the heat generation, or at least cool it down to never reach that high. That's where this top part of the farm goes into play. With this steam chamber at the top, constantly looping the heat at around 125 to 130 degrees, it will be enough to keep the whole place at that temperature. To help with spreading heat more effectively, place down the temperature shift plates right under the metal tiles, and extend it to where it's touching the petroleum generators. The temp shift plates don't have to be diamond. Granite or igneous rock will do the job. The diamond is purely for efficiency in this demonstration. At the bottom of the ranch, be sure to add a liquid pump to collect all the crude oil or petroleum that the slicksters produce and the polluted water from the generators. Add a filter to the liquid pump so you can separate crude oil, petroleum, and the polluted water, then store them in a safe area. But there's still another problem that you have to face after a few dozen cycles. Polluted water has a boiling point of 120 degrees Celsius. And if the area is hotter than that, when the polluted water hits the ground, it will instantly flash and become steam, causing some imbalance in the gas levels of the farm. This is when the gas crusher here at the right and the left will become useful. Because steam is lighter than carbon dioxide, it's more likely to float at the top. What these set of doors will do is basically they all open at the same time. However, the very first door will close itself first, trapping all the gas inside, and when the rest of the doors close, the gas will then be crushed and deleted, causing the steam to be completely removed from the farm, along with some carbon dioxide in the mix. Here are the settings for the automation, so you'll know what to do. By the way, if your polluted water isn't flashing into steam yet, disconnect the automation wires because you don't need this yet. Now comes the incubation chamber. Set up the shipping of the ranches to send the eggs into this chamber. Place down another grooming station and 3 incubators to accept all slicksters, along with a critter pickup filter to accept all slicksters as well. This will purely be for the ranches in case the slicksters in the ranches die of old age. Now for the next part, you have 2 options. You can decide to dump all the eggs in here and then use this small room as your infinite storage of slicksters, and just leave them to produce as much crude oil or petroleum inside here. But since it's such a cramped room, they won't ever have a chance to lay an egg inside here, and it will also cause a lot of lag due to them moving around, causing the game to calculate their walking distance every few seconds. The second option is, if you only want a certain amount of slicksters in the incubation chamber, then you can attach a critter sensor into the conveyor chute with your desired limit. For me, it's set at below 10 and checks for both critter and eggs. Once the chamber reaches over that, The conveyor chute then proceeds to close, and then the proceeding eggs will be dumped down here below. They will be sorted via this conveyor rail element sensor, attached to each conveyor chute. With 3 tile walls, they won't be able to move around, only allowing duplicants to enter through the doors if there's ever a reason for them to come in here. If we check into the room overlay, it's going to show it's a miscellaneous room. And keep note of the room size. Each slickster needs at least 12 tiles of room individually, meaning as long as this design remains open to the environment, then you can put as much slicksters in here as you want without them being cramped. In this example, there's over 5,500 tiles of space, meaning there would have to be at least 450 of any kind of critter, not just slicksters, in this open space for them to feel cramped. And because slicksters can lay an egg every 60 cycles, as long as they're not cramped, then you can have a free egg in here for every slickster you contain. For transparency, a slickster that is groomed and properly tamed will lay an egg in just 6 days instead of the usual 60 days. Here's the one-shot overlay for you to use as a reference. And that's roughly how to tame slicksters, in oxygen not included.